Hi, football fans. This is Merrill Reese, and you're listening to Bill and Chet on Philly Press Box Radio. It's good!
It's one of my favorite annual traditions here on Philly Press Box Radio, a season preview conversation with the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese. Welcome back, Merrill.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be with you.
Merrill, the first time we did this, you were just a kid. It was your 39th season as play-by-play man. Here you are starting season number 45. Can you believe that?
I can't. I can't believe it's 45. Honestly, Jim, when I think about the years, they seem to have gone so quickly, and I guess that's what happens over the years. But, I mean, I remember everything with crystal clarity. I mean, I can remember Super Bowl 15. I remember the Vermeil years. It all seems so within reach. But the truth of the matter is, well, I'm beginning 45 years, so 44 years have passed since I stepped behind the Eagles play-by-play microphone for the first time.
Well, to say the least, 2020 was a rough year in a lot of ways. The pandemic wreaked havoc with the sports world. The Eagles season, 4-11-1. The Super Bowl winning coach and the franchise quarterback are both gone now. Not a season that anybody expected, right?
That's for sure. I mean, you just described a soap opera, not a football season.
Well, I know you're not a fan of preseason games. Did we learn anything about this Eagles team from those three scintillating exhibition contests?
No. No. We did not. I mean, we saw Jalen Hurts, the starting quarterback, play 10 snaps, throw 7 passes. We saw half the offensive line play a quarter. The others didn't play in the second game. 3 of them did. We saw very little in the preseason games. I think we saw, those of us who attended practice, saw some good things during the dual practices when they practiced with the Patriots and practiced with the Jets. But I don't equate that to the same as a regular season game. And I've been a little bit questioning, if you would say questioning rather than critical, of the Eagles' method, because I saw a young kid who's trying to make his bones in the National Football League by the name of Patrick Mahomes, I think his last name is, play a half against Arizona. Then I saw him play a half the next week. And I saw Tom Brady play some football, and I saw Daniel Jones play a half in the last preseason game. And I saw Roethlisberger, who's 105 years old, got some preseason action. So I will be honest with you, I wonder about putting a young quarterback without game experience, except for 4 games last year, out there on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. But I also look and say, wait a minute, this is the first time the Eagles are starting a season with everybody healthy. I mean, aside from the guys who were left over still rehabbing from last year. But everybody is healthy. They suffered no disabling injuries, no injuries that affect this team heading into the season. So maybe if they get off to a decent start, I'll say they're geniuses. They've got it right, and it's time to revise my antiquated thinking.
And by the way, I think that Brady kid's got a future.
Maybe. Maybe.
All right.
If not as a football player, at least as a GOAT.
That's for sure. All right, true or false, Merrill, a key to the Eagles' fortunes this year will be keeping the offensive line healthier than they've been the last few years.
True, 10 times true. I think that's the biggest key to the offense. Last year they had 14 different offensive line combinations. They entered the season with Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelsey and Isaac Seumalo and a guy who I think is going to develop into an all-pro, Jordan Mailata. You keep those 5 guys healthy, you've got a good offense. I mean, believe me, Jalen Hurts will prosper. The wide receivers will explode. The running backs will do their job. The tight ends. I mean, this is a talented offense on paper, but it's also a thin offense. We'll see what they have in the depth department, but your first statement about the offensive line could not have been more on point.
Well, it is official now. Jalen Hurts, indeed the starting quarterback. I heard you say on your latest Pro Football Report show that you feel pretty optimistic about Hurts.
I like him a lot. I really do. I think he's the total package. He's a leader, got a rifle arm. He's mobile, quickly makes decisions. I like everything about him. I do.
One thing all Eagles fans are excited about is that wide receiver core you mentioned, particularly rookie Devontae Smith and second-year guys Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins. A lot of speed. They could be fun to watch. Do you agree?
I do. I think they're going to be great. I always like Rig Ward. I mean, he never gets much attention, but all he does is get open on every play and make catches. I like Greg Ward a lot, so I'm glad he's on the roster. And I will keep an open mind going into the season about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, J.J. was the most likely to be released heading into training camp, and here he is on the roster. And not just because he was a second-round draft choice, but because he actually performed well day in and day out.
Great to see Zach Ertz back on the roster, too. Hopefully he'll stick around. Hey, have you gotten to know the new head coach at all? What's your impression of Nick Sirianni and his very young coaching staff?
I spent an hour with him on Zoom. I've been to the press conferences. We've said hello and exchanged pleasantries. But you don't get too close to anybody in this COVID world. There's no one-on-ones. You know, I haven't met any of the players from last year's rookie camp because we're not allowed to. There's no locker room access. There's no one-on-one personal greetings. It's just so remote. But I will tell you the contact, the limited contact I've had with Nick Sirianni has all been positive. He's an extremely enthusiastic, energetic guy, bright guy, loves football as much as we do, has a good background. I wish him well, and I will enter the season with the glass half full as far as the coaching staff is concerned.
We may see a somewhat different defense this year. We have a new coordinator, Jonathan Ganon. What do you know about him and what the defense is going to do?
He's bright. A lot of people had him on their must-meet list after last season. Very, very bright. Would not shock me from what people say and my early impressions if he, within 3 or 4 years, is the head coach of a team. But, Jim, the interesting thing is when you talk about the offense and you talk about the defense, I don't know a thing. I know names, I know people, I know talent, but we haven't seen anything in terms of schemes, offensively or defensively. The preseason games have been totally vanilla, and so have the drills. So does he blitz a lot? I don't know. I sense that he'll use multiple fronts, 3, 4, maybe 5 at times. But again, we really don't know. Same with the offense. How much are they going to run? Are they going to do a lot of RPO stuff? I don't know.
The Washington football team somehow won the NFC East last year. The division was pretty awful, to be honest. Will the East be at least somewhat better this year? And who's the favorite here in early September?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you're going to say on paper, I guess you go with Dallas. But it's not one on paper. Washington, I love their coach. I think Ron Rivera is terrific. They've got an old quarterback. They've got a young one who's not a guy with a lot of credentials and Heineke. But they have their pieces. They have a great defense. That's the whole thing. They're depending on that defense. But, I mean, here's an organization that can't even, after 2 years, figure out a nickname. And I think they have the worst owner in the National Football League who seems to interfere at the wrong times and in the wrong ways. So they're always a question mark to me.
Hey, how's Carson Wentz going to fare in Indy? Hopefully well enough to play 3/4 of the offensive snaps, right?
We hope so. We also know that he wasn't sensible enough or caring enough to get the vaccination. And now he's in the protocol for COVID, even if it's by contact. We also know that his history of being as fragile as a China doll has continued. I mean, we hope he plays 70-75% of the plays. But I'm going to tell you something, Jim, and I'm being honest. I mean, this is not with any animosity towards Carson Wentz. I like him. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's got a lot of qualities. But I will tell you also that in that second year when we saw him going into that Rams game, he was the MVP of the league. He was a sensational talent. But then came that crushing knee injury where he tore his ACL, his MCL, structural damage. Next year, he left the season early with a fracture in his spine or in his spinal column. he's not the same quarterback. He doesn't move the same way. He doesn't escape the same way. He's somewhat hesitant. I think maybe Frank Reich has a chance to get him back, but I don't think Carson Wentz, and I hope I'm wrong, I don't think Carson Wentz is ever going to turn out to be more than a middle-of-the-pack quarterback.
Two more things, Merrill. Last month, Harold Carmichael inducted into the Hall of Fame, finally, long overdue. And next year, we hope, it looks like it's going to happen, Dick Vermeil will finally go into Canton. You got to be pretty happy. I know those are two of your favorites.
Well, Harold should have gone in 20 years ago.
For sure.
Harold is one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of this game, and the kind of person who is every inch a Hall of Famer. So I was glad to see it happen. As far as Dick Vermeil is concerned, it will happen. It's really not iffy because he's the one coach elevated as a finalist, so it's almost automatic that he'll be a Hall of Famer next year, and he deserves it. And I consider Dick Vermeil, and I think you would, and most of our listeners would agree with this, that he is probably the most liked or beloved and most respected coach, manager, that has ever been in Philadelphia in any sport. He would be number one.
Absolutely. Last thing, Merrill, you and Mike Quick had to call all the games last year from a spot at the Link, including away games. What is the plan this year with fans back in stadiums? Will you guys be traveling to Atlanta and all the other road cities again?
As of this very minute, yes. But could that change? Yes. So as of this very minute, we are on the team plane. But I would not tell you that that's etched in stone.
Gotcha. You're the best, Merrill. Hope it's an exciting year. Thanks for doing this for a 7th straight season here on Philly Press Box Radio. Always great to get your insight.
Thanks, Jim. It's always nice to speak with you.